India and other developing nations are welcoming the new age supply chain concepts with open arms to transform their economy. And this has given rise to the demand for skilled and knowledgeable supply chain and logistics professionals. You can have a look at any one of India's leading job websites and you are going to find that the companies are hiring employees for the related departments like never before. In this course, you would learn about the basics of supply chain management, which is going to open a portal of job opportunities for you in the supply chain and logistics fields. After the completion of this course, you shall be one step ahead of your competitors in this field. So, without waiting any further, let's add value to your existing supply chain skills. We are going to start by understanding the very basic question, which is, what is a supply chain? In simple terms, a supply chain is a process of making and delivering products. If we look into supply chain through a technical perspective, supply chain can be understood as a system of organizations, people, activities, information, and various resources involved in moving a product or a service from a supplier to the customer. Supply chain activities involve the transformation of natural resources, raw materials, and components into finished products that is finally delivered to the end customer. Here is an interesting fact from our day-to-day life that we might not realize. We all make something every day, which is why we too are a part of some supply chain. You must be wondering, how is this? So, in order to visualize this idea better, let's take an example from our day-to-day life. I believe most of us like to kickstart our mornings with a cup of tea, isn't it? So let's take the example of Indian tea and analyze how to prepare it through the supply chain perspective. Let us suppose that you like ginger tea, and in order to make a cup of Indian ginger tea, you are going to need the following ingredients. You'll need water, milk, sugar, tea leaves, and some ginger. Through the supply chain management perspective, the journey of a product starts with purchasing the ingredients or raw materials. Specifically in supply chain terms, this process of purchasing is called procurement. But before purchasing the ingredients required for preparing tea, you may need to consider the following points, like: what is your favorite grocery store? Why do you like them? Do they have all the ingredients you are going to need to prepare tea in their store? Maybe you would like your milk from your favorite place. And also, maybe the best tea leaves come from the specialty tea store. In any of these cases, you are going to have your own preferences, a specific budget, and for some of you, you just need to buy your stuff from the most convenient place. The procurement or purchasing of your materials for preparing tea will be complete after everything falls into place for you as per your liking. Now, let's move on to the stage 2 of preparing tea and analyze it from the supply chain management perspective. This stage is called manufacturing and operations. This is the part where you are going to move from gathering all the ingredients towards making the tea. The required steps to make a cup of tea are as follows. First, you'll need to boil the water. And while the water boils, you may grate the ginger, but don't yet add it to the water. Once the water has boiled, add sugar to it according to your taste. After that, add the grated ginger to the boiling water. Moving on, you'll need to add 2 teaspoonfuls of tea leaves. After that comes the milk. Add as much milk as you would like in your tea. And finally, after the tea has boiled well, you can strain the tea into a cup or a container. With this, the process of making a cup of Indian tea is complete. Now, assuming that you may have to hurry to get to work on time, you still have some work left to do here. In hurry, you should not forget to put away the leftovers and clean up that mess that has been created while preparing tea. But here lies another trick. Doing these things the right way, doing them quickly, and also being able to do this on a day-to-day basis is very important. And this is what our friends in operations manage to do every day, without a miss. Now moving on to the third stage of supply chain management, the logistics and transportation phase. I have a specific taste in tea, which is why I like to carry some of the tea that I make in my home to my office. If you're anything like me, you may also like to do the same. But before that, there are some issues that you need to address, such as how are you going to protect the tea from spilling? Also, how can you ensure that the tea will be fresh and hot by the time you will consume it? Another important aspect that you must consider is where are you going to store the tea in your office? And before all these, how are you going to take the tea to the office? Let's suppose that you have all these issues figured out for yourself. So, the transportation part has already been taken care of. But there is another issue that must be acknowledged, which is the proper packaging. The issue of proper packaging may give rise to one or all of the following questions. Do you have the proper vessel available with you? Are you relying on a flask or an insulated cup? And if it is an insulated cup, is it a big cup or a small cup? If you have a big cup, will the cup fit in the car? Also, how do you plan to transport that? Thinking through the transportation and containerization issue is something you'll want to think through a long-term perspective, because this may not be the last time you decide to carry tea made by yourself to some other place. So, can you now see the supply chain behind making a wonderful cup of tea, such as how you want it, where you want it, when you need it, etc. This is exactly what is the function of a supply chain. We buy things, we make things, and we move things. The example that we have demonstrated was just for one cup of tea for one single person. How about if you had a restaurant that made hundreds of cups of tea a day? Or what will be your plan of action if your restaurant wanted to offer all varieties of food along with the tea? For another example, what if someone wants to place a special kind of order, a bulk order for 150 people? Or what if you have a specific group of customers coming to your restaurant who have a demand for organic food items? Not just these, there may be some other exceptions that you must be ready for, such as what happens if you plan on delivering lunch to your customers between specific hours? Is your company prepared to deal with all those options and challenges? The fact that we are trying to establish here is supply chain professionals are ready for all of that. This is their daily job. That's what they do. Procurement, operations, and logistics. These, my friends, are the primary parts of modern supply chain. Every product has a supply chain process cycle, and the supply chain manager of the product has the job responsibility for successfully managing that cycle. Now think about this. Can you write a story about your own supply chain management? Consider one of your favorite purchases, let's say your car, or your phone, or maybe your daily lunch. Think for a moment and analyze the following questions. Who purchased the raw materials, parts, or ingredients for these products? Why was that important in ultimately making you happy? Who managed all those materials and made them into what you wanted? What were the essential elements in getting the item or service right to you? We ask you to analyze these points because they are really important and they will help you create a basic logic of supply chain management for yourself.